All right, Ethan. I think Franziska Preuss is for real here. Our current yellow bib and just like looking strong. And I don't know why, but I'm not sold by her. I look at other athletes like Breza Boucher and Tandervold and I mean Tandervold's not racing, but like Julia Simone, and they just seem to me in my mind, they just seem like they are overall winners. And I'm just not sold by Preuss yet, but she's legit. She not only did she earn the yellow bib, but she freaking won a race with the yellow bib. I mean, I mean, Elvira Oberg did that in Contilati, but still that's a big like middle finger to not, I guess not a middle finger. That's a big like, yeah, I earned this type of move, obviously. But then also just her performance in the relay too. I mean, Germany, we're going to talk about the relay a little later. She gets handed off to in first place against some really, really strong competition and is able to seal the deal. So I don't know. I think Franziska Preuss is for real.
I totally agree. And coming into this weekend, I think she only had like one, maybe two wins in her whole career, which really surprised me considering she's been at the top of the sport for, so long. But right now, what's, surprising to me is that not only is she shooting exceptionally well in prone at about 97%, she's always been a good shot, especially in prone, as you can see with the trends, always up in the 90%. But her ski speed is faster than it ever has been so far this season.
That's insane.
And which is crazy considering she's, how old is she, 30 years old? She feels like she's been doing biathlon forever. Maybe this is just like peaking at the beginning of the season, or just, taking a little easier coming into the year, not having to compete super hard in, team trial events. But I mean, if she keeps skiing faster than she ever has and keeps hitting the targets like she always does, and she might not have that, like wow factor or like insane ski speed or super duper fast shooting that we see from some of the other athletes, but she does everything right. She doesn't, really put a foot wrong anywhere so far this season.
Yeah. She's like, I was trying to figure out like what's going on with her. And I mean, we know that she's been plagued with injury and with illness, but if you take a look at her career here, I mean, she's done about 12 seasons on the World Cup. And I'm going to say there's like a good 4 of them that are full seasons, 3. And then like, you could also count maybe this one, 18 out of 20, couple 17 out of 20s. But like so much of her career has been sidelined due to injury that it's so hard to get a read on how she is as a biathlete. As a youngster, she's got some medals from Junior Worlds, a couple medals at the World Champs too. But it's just so like, I almost feel like when I think of great German biathletes, you do think of the Dahlmeyers, who was racing in this era. Through here, you think of Denise Herman-Vick, who's racing in this era. And Preuss has always been very competitive against, other athletes when she is racing, but it's just been, she hasn't had the full season of racing. I mean, it's kind of hard to see this, but if you look at all the red dots, like that's where she actually placed in the race. And there's so many in the top 10, like tons of performances in the top 10. Sure, smattering of poor performances, that happens, but yeah, it's just like you don't think of Preuss. And then now with the new generation coming up, all her teammates are like under 20 or under 22 or something like that. With the new generation coming up, everyone's seems like already just been like, oh, who's coming next? Look at Tannheimer, look at Grosjean, like look at the next generation. But Preuss just does the job. She just gets the work done. She hits the targets. She's skiing fast. This is this is the for women. Here's the skiing stats for this season. She's definitely put herself as the 4th fastest skier of the year, which is, it's kind of crazy. I want to go back and take a look to see how many times she's been ranked 4th for fastest skiers on the season, or in the top 5 even. But like, I consider Brezard, Boucher, and Oberg just dominant skiers, and Preuss is right there. I guess if we look at the chart here, where is she? Okay, so she has a little bit of a gap to those top 3, but she's leading everyone else. So, yeah, I don't know. I think, like, is this, we're talking about all these injuries. Now another one coming out. Davidova is out for Le Grand Bernard with some back issues. Like, it's almost, I'm trying to think of the joke here, but it's like, it's almost ironic that poor Preuss has been just sidelined with crap her entire career, and now this season it seems like everyone else in the field is getting sidelined with crap, and it's leaving the door open for Preuss. But with the injuries, jokes aside, with the injuries, like, the door is 100% open for Preuss right now to take the overall.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. I think all she needs is a good weekend in Le Grand Bonnat, and then continue it through the next trimester. And she doesn't have to win every single race, especially in the women's field. We could have, out of the however many races they do, like 10 to 15 different winners. Although with the superstars that are currently out injured, that numbers are going to be a little smaller. But if Preuss just continues to have good races on the podium, top 5s, like, we saw this week, Elvira crushed it in Conti-Lati, and then, had a bad race in the sprint, and that set her back pretty far for the pursuit. And everyone's going to be subject to a bad race now and then. But I think on the women's side, whoever wins the overall isn't going to win every single race, like we see with Johannes and the men's. They just have to have the least amount of bad races.
Yeah,
and I think Preuss right now is showing us that she has all the tools to do that. From the start of the season. If that continues, I don't think, Jean Monod and Oberg and, Voigt is, I say right there, but she's a good amount of points back. But they would have to kind of win out for a whole weekend to even kind of like catch up, assuming Preuss continues to have good, podium top 5 type races.
Yeah. I mean, and like, Simone definitely came alive here, 6th place in the pursuit. But I mean, talk about, you got to limit the bad races. I mean, first of all, she didn't even earn any points in this sprint in Conti-Lati, and then poor performance. If you're trying to win the overall, 17th is great, but if you're trying to win the overall, 17th is not good enough. And yeah, it's just about consistency. Preuss has been in the top 10 every single race, and then even look at this. This is what you're talking about. Oberg was podium every single race in Conti-Lati, just a bad sprint in Hochfilzen, 25th place, and boom, she dropped down the order. So, yeah, we're going to see what happens. And it's actually interesting because when I look at these top 3 women, Preuss, Jean Monod, and Oberg, I think that Oberg has, she's the most risky, I would say. It's her shooting that freaks me out a little bit. I think she can be the overall winner, but she's really got to dial in that shooting if she's going to win it. So for that reason, I think she's primed for a couple more like 25th places, a random, like potentially out of the points type race. So that's not going to win it. So now I think it becomes between Preuss and Jean Monod. Both of them are pretty dang good athletes. And they're both skiing very similarly. They're both shooting very similarly. So I think it's going to be a pretty fun fight down the home stretch here. Hopefully, I mean, Jean Monod has this 17 in Conti-Lati. Hopefully that's the worst for her and she can get back to being competitive with Preuss. But, we do have, let's say, home field disadvantage coming up. We'll see how she does when she comes to Le Grand Bernard. If she can get through Le Grand Bernard with top 10s, and let's say Preuss takes the yellow and she, moves into the second trimester with the yellow bib, but Jean Monod gets through Le Grand Bernard with top 10s and can stay competitive, I think the advantage shifts towards Jean Monod. But if Jean Monod cracks under the home pressure, the home fans, whatever, and she has another 17th in the sprint, for example, like not a bad performance, but just not good enough. I think advantage Preuss, even with the Oberhof and the Ruhpolding stages coming up, because I think I don't know, you don't see the Germans perform too poorly in Germany, whereas you can see some of the other nations when they do go to home snow. Sometimes it can be tough to compete in front of the home crowd. So, I think it's going to be interesting. It looks like we got two. It's so crazy because at the beginning of the season we were talking like, oh, it could be Vitozzi, it could be Tanderveld, it could be Oberg, it could have been Preuss, it could be Jean Monod, it could be Simone, it could be like you could have named 10 women that could have won the overall, and now we're 2 weekends into the season, and it's pretty clearly going to be, I think, down to 2 women, maybe 3.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think it's going to be super fun to watch, the women's field shake out. But to the point of the home races, yes, Germany has the Oberhof and Ruhpolding World Cups, but watching the races in Antolz, there's a lot of German fans there. I mean, sorry, not Antolz, but this weekend in Hochfilzen, there's a lot of German fans.
Yeah.
In Antolz, they talk about too, it almost feels like a home World Cup just because it's so close to Germany and the fans travel so well.
Yeah.
I think that helps them kind of handle the pressure when they do get to race in Germany in Oberhof and Ruhpolding. It doesn't totally feel like there's all this, outside media, now that they're at home. Whereas for the French athletes, when they go to Le Grand Bonnat, it's like they're world champs every single year for the French fans and the French media and the TV and all that stuff. And there's a lot of things outside of just racing that come with that.
Yeah.
I think maybe the Germans might have a little bit more experience when it comes to that.
That's a really good point. And that's probably why they don't do so poorly when they go to Ruhpolding and Oberhof, is because everywhere they go, there's German fans. So yeah, interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes.